Hey everyone, Gene here from Exploring the Myth. Remember, you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram for exclusive clips and images, behind the scenes footage, as well as updates on future podcasts and stories.
And it just gives a scratch.
Yes.
And then she has to go through that anguish until she gets called again.
That is what the truth is. We found it right there.
That's
That is
I think
her
we
hell.
have to, I think we can close the case on that one.
Welcome to Exploring the Myth Podcast.
Exploring the Myth Podcast.
Where we'll take a dive into the dark and unknown parts of the world. Now, here with your guides, Omar, Richard, and Gene.
Welcome to Exploring the Myth Podcast with Omar, Gene, and Richard. What's going on, guys?
What's up? How y'all doing?
How you doing? Gene, why don't you tell us why we're all here?
You guys have heard of Bloody Mary, right? For this first one?
Yeah.
When did y'all hear about it? Like, I remember hearing about it. God, I must have been in like 7th grade? 6th grade? You know, some kids came to school. Like, hey man, you you heard of Bloody Mary? And you're just like, what? It's like, yeah. You know, we went and sat in the mirror and she like scratched me right here, and they would like show you these scratches and you look it up.
Yeah.
Nothing?
It must have been around that same time when I first heard about it. I don't remember 7th grade, and I definitely don't remember people saying they scratched.
No
But,
shit?
Yeah.
Really?
I just remember like more like girls, like Monday morning when girls would have like sleepover, they'd be like, "Oh, we played Bloody Mary," but I don't remember. Yeah.
There was I remember one occasion where they said that, but again, they were probably just bullshitting, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I don't know what grade it was for mine, but I never remember. I know now just because I looked into it, but I never remember it being a boy-girl thing. I always just thought, just in general, if you went and said Bloody Mary 3 times, either something flashed in front of you, you got the scratch, or something like that.
Yeah, there's different, I guess, I don't know, things that go along with the myth. It's normally in groups. You normally see it with like groups of girls, but then, you know, you go in a mirror. You can say it either 3 times, 12 times. They'll light a candle. They'll dim the lights. But for those who don't know, this is from Wikipedia. Bloody Mary is a legend consisting of a ghost, phantom, or a spirit conjured to reveal the future. She is said to appear in a mirror when her name is chanted repeatedly. The Bloody Mary apparition may be benign or malevolent, depending on historic variations of the legend. Bloody Mary appearances are mostly witnessed in group partition play. Historically, the divination ritual encouraged young women to walk up a flight of stairs backward, holding a candle and a hand mirror in a darkened house, which already sounds like trouble to begin with.
Just crab walking backwards up the stairs. Like, that's not a good start. Like,
let me turn off the lights, light a candle, and look in a mirror on my way up here and see what happens. As they gazed into the mirror, they were supposed to be able to catch a view of their future husband's face. There was, however, a chance that they would see a skull or the face of the Grim Reaper instead, indicating that they were going to die before they would have the chance to marry. So there's that. In the ritual of today, Bloody Mary allegedly appears to individuals or groups who ritualistically invoke her name in an act of catoptromacy. I hope I got that right. Who knows? This is done by repeatedly chanting her name into a mirror placed in a dimly lit or candlelit room. The name must be repeated 3 times, or like I said, sometimes it's like others. The Bloody Mary apparition allegedly appears as a corpse, witch, or ghost that can be friendly or evil, and is sometimes seen covered in blood. The lore surrounding the ritual states that participants may endure the apparition screaming at them, cursing at them, strangling them, stealing their soul, drinking their blood, or scratching their eyes out. Some variations of the ritual call Bloody Mary by a different name. Hail Mary, Mary Worth, who, let's see, I have this up here. So Mary Worth was a witch who was burned for practicing magic. And then some stories, she's also a young woman who died in a car accident. Are popular examples. And then there's a couple other legends that are kind of parallel to that we can go into. Another famous one would be Queen Mary one, which was the first Queen Regent of England. She ended up just murdering a bunch of people.
Yeah,
But
I was shocked to see, looking into it, how many variations. I thought it was all just one kind of consensus Bloody Mary.
Right.
But there's different versions of not only who Bloody Mary is, but how the Bloody Mary ritual is carried out.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I saw the same thing, Gene. I saw the witch back in Salem version, and so it seems like today's version is more of a conjuring of a thing or a person. Not everyone's thinking about, or you might not even know the full background. But I think today, the way I understood it when I was a kid, and still understand it now, is you're saying it in the mirror and you're conjuring that thing to come out. It's not really so much used anymore to tell if you're going to have, like, who's going to give you your baby anymore. It's more of like a scary thing, like a Ouija board type thing. Like you're trying to conjure a spirit.
Yeah, it's like a true.
Yeah.
It's like a dare type thing. Hey, I dare you to do this. Do you believe in this? No. Saying which, oh, go on.
It's crazy because, as ridiculous as it sounds and as silly as we can say, did y'all ever try it? Or
Fuck
tempted
no.
or asked to try
Hell
it?
no. Dude,
Rich,
just doing this research, I try not to even think about it when I'm in front of the mirror.
Yeah.
No, I remember doing it.
What?
I don't know how old I was. Yeah. Said Bloody Mary like 3 times and then nothing happened. No one's ever shown me like this 3 scratches right here is when I got it. I've heard it, the only time I've heard stories like that were things where you could never verify it on the spot. Well, my cousin, and this is when you're like 12, 11, something like that. No, dude, when my cousins did it, I swear, like he came out and he had scratches all over.
Yeah.
And they're never there to be like, is that true? And like, yeah, they're never there. They're always somebody's cousin or somebody's friend's mom's brother. It's never a firsthand account that I've heard where they're like, I saw it. So,
Well, I never did it, and that's wild that you said you did it. That's pretty cool. That's brave because I was
Hell
scared.
yeah.
Heck no, dude. Seeing that movie Candyman, where it's kind of loosely based off the same type of deal,
Yes.
Candyman, whatever, and then he pops up. I was like, heck no. And I was tempted, and there was lots of times where we're hanging out, having like the guys over for the weekend, whatever, and like, oh, do it. Nope. And to think like a folklore tale would like have that much power over you is kind of like, yeah, demeaning. It's weird.
Hell no. Why would you do that? I think, Rich, you need to do it 12 times though. Just to
yeah,
be
you could do it up to
safe.
13 times. But that's interesting though, because there's having that fear of it would also come with having, some of you believes that a little bit, right? I mean, I think the more rational part is like, no, that's not going to happen. But just the fact that you're like, I won't do it. Is there some part of you that thinks that, well, if there's a bowl of M&Ms and you tell me one M&M will kill me if I eat it, why even try? So even if I only believe in it 1%, I just don't want to, or you tell me, how does it feel for you?
Well, who, like me that believes in it?
Or Omar?
Well, I mean, even if there was that 1%, I don't want to risk it. I mean, why? I mean, why? Oh, you know what? There's 1% chance that this might happen. So let me just go ahead and do this anyway. Like,
And that's what Richard's saying. It's like, but what is that control over you? I mean, I still have times where the dark gets me and I'm like, is there 1% of me that thinks I'm going to get, murdered by a demon or something? Probably not, but that fear still lingers. Maybe it's like a traumatic, I mean, y'all, I don't want to get into it like right now at all, but y'all know, like, my childhood was a little bit different than other people's childhood as far as where I grew up and what went on. But
what do you mean?
a little bit of that.
That doesn't know, Omar grew up in a haunted ass house.
We're not jumping into that. Especially when I'm alone at home right now. I ain't
Oh,
trying
I'm
to
sorry.
get into
Oh, really?
that.
Oh shit.
Yeah. No, but I don't know, whatever. But maybe that was a little bit traumatizing, or I don't know. I can't.
And to me, it seems like it's kind of lost its purpose almost. Like in the beginning, the purpose might have been, I mean, think about what we even laughed when we told Gene kind of how you had the origin story. So you turn up, which I'm guessing in the times that they did this, there weren't light flickers on and off. It was like candlelight.
Yes.
And there's a stairwell. So you have to not only go up the stairwell, you have to turn your back to the stairwell. You have to have a mirror. And as you're walking up the stairwell backwards, you're saying Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And then supposedly the mirror might reflect behind you your future husband or a demon or something. That almost seems so ridiculous. It's meant to have some sort of subconscious message behind it. Like, maybe you shouldn't be maybe it's to scare you into not just dreaming about who your future husband's going to be. And how about you just let fate happen? So because I'm guessing 12 and 13-year-old girls back then were the same as 12, 13, 14-year-old girls now who are like, I'm going to marry this person and I'm going to be like, and they're just tied up in dreams of like a wedding and getting married. Not all, there's exceptions, but I'm guessing that was a problem back then, just like it is now. And maybe there's a group of adults like us, like, what can we do to make it like make them feel dumb for doing that? Like, oh, okay, well, if you want to find out, like, Mom, please, who am I going to marry? Dad, I need to know who I'm going to marry. Okay, well, there's one way you can know. That mirror right there, grab it, walk backwards up the stairs and just say, Bloody Mary 15 times, something like that. And then it'll show you. And if it doesn't, then you don't know.
Yeah. How many women or girls do you think fell and like got legitimately hurt, like injured? Like imagine
you're not married. You're not getting married now.
Yeah. You got burn marks on your face, girl.
But it's funny because now we have this lore, this legend that still continues, somewhat based on the concept of the mirror, the dark, but there's no, what would be the benefit now? Is it just like, it's stopping you from being in dark rooms and you might get hurt? It seems like the actual fear or the lesson to be learned here is more of just don't do it, period. And the lesson would be learned if you do it, and it'll get you, it'll hurt you. And that's your lesson that you would learn, which doesn't seem much like how it originally started, where maybe there was a broader lesson to be learned.
Yeah, now it's more of just a dare thing of courage. Like, all right, you're going to be a wimp or you're going to go and do this thing, are you scared?
Also, sorry, go on.
No, you're good.
No, just real quick to what Richard was saying about the girl going up the stairs backwards, holding the mirror. That could also, in my mind, what I went to was you're doing so many things at once that it could also almost trigger your brain to, I did see something because I'm juggling 15 other things, walking backwards. And you know what I mean? It might actually create this false, brain little deal. And so that's what I was thinking. But anyways, go on.
Yeah,
sorry.
Speaking of which, there are actually some studies that were done in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
So again, this is what I pulled up. Staring into a mirror in a dimly lit room for a prolonged period can cause one to hallucinate. Facial features may appear to melt, distort, disappear, and rotate, while other hallucinatory elements, such as animal or strange faces may appear. Giovanni Caputo at the University of Urbino writes this phenomenon, which he calls the strange face illusion, is believed to be a consequence of a dissociative identity effect, which causes the brain's facial recognition system to misfire in a currently unidentified way. Other possible explanations for the phenomenon include illusions attributed, at least partially, to the perceptual effects of Troxler's fading and possibly hypnosis, which basically, if you stare long enough, your mind wants, we're trained to see faces, which is weird. You look in the clouds, you see a face. You look at a truck or a car. How many times have you seen a face in a vehicle? You look at a fridge, you see a face. Mm-hmm. And so you stare long enough, especially in a dimly lit room. And normally when you're saying Bloody Mary like this amount of times, you're actually looking into the mirror and focusing on one image. Especially in some cases, you'll spin around like 12 times, saying it as you look into the mirror, which can cause this effect and you to hallucinate. Which are other explanations for this happening.
Yeah, there's also a study Ohio State did, And it was more towards clinical depression. I don't know why, but people that are clinically depressed have a higher the way we catch faces, like even when they're not there, is like a survival instinct. It helps to see a tiger face coming out of the jungle, so you can get away from it. It's going back all the way to like early mankind, where it's just it helps you survive better if your brain can see a face right away and recognize it. And it's even overcharged, so we see it when it's not there. Like if the mashed potatoes are arranged in a weird way, your brain will see a face. There's no face there, it's mashed potatoes, but your brain will register a face to it. And so what they did is they did a clinical study for people that were on clinical or people that were clinically depressed. And that showed the same phenomenon after even the 13 times. So they did the version with the 13-time Bloody Mary. And so this was specifically with the Bloody Mary myth. So they did this study where the participants said it 13 times, staring into the mirror, and I think half of them or something said that they either saw a distorted figure or something behind them that they couldn't quite make out. But that was much more in line with what they felt like was that part of your brain that overreacts to seeing faces than it was anything supernatural. But
I mean,
interesting.
there's been times where I'm at home and I'm talking about dark, where your brain almost like tricks itself. I mean, I've had that. Because like I'm home alone, I'm obviously safe, doors locked, everything, but it's dark, and like you just hear something and you just imagine like this thing. I don't know if y'all have ever had that.
everyone has that.
Yeah.
Which could drive a lot of these stories. I mean, who knows?
I don't know if it drives it, but it helps to like. I think what drove it, there was obviously like what you talked about in the beginning, that there may have been a kind of a like, let's make up some stuff to kind of get them to leave us alone about this whole who are you going to marry when you grow up thing. So I don't know if like seeing faces, that phenomenon kicked off the Bloody Mary, but I think it helped perpetuate it in the fact of what it turned it into today. Because if you go and do it 13 times and you're at a party, say you're a little intoxicated or something else, it's not too unlikely that some distortion is going to happen in the mirror, or you might start to see something that is not a face at all, but the more you look at it, starts to become a face.
Yeah.
And then that kind of perpetuates the legend. So then that girl, Sally, comes out like, oh my God, I told you guys, like, I didn't think it was real. I honestly didn't. But I swear to God, like the wall behind me started turning into like the Bloody Mary girl. I don't know. And then that person's going to tell, yeah, my friend at a party, she actually saw it in the back. And then it kind of perpetuates it more than it like started it.
Well then, but how did my cousin get scratched then?
Wait, what?
I don't know.
Wait. Whoa. Your cousin got scratched?
Yes. I told y'all since I was in 7th grade.
Every time I've heard that story, I've never had the person in front of me. And I've never seen the scratch.
Never
So-
My cousin did.
Wait, really? Seriously?
No, I'm totally being
See, and this is why I believe
idiot.
shit. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Dude, but about the faces thing, in the shower on the tiles, I'm finding like 500 faces every day, and I'm not even kidding. I do it all the time.
Right.
It's so no, I'm
Do you name
serious.
them?
No, come on.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I've seen way too much stuff, like, and I don't know. So yeah, I could see how this, and I know that 99% of things that I've seen that this is paranormal, weird, is not. I know it now when I'm older. I'm like, okay, our brains do weird things, and it's weird, it's strange. When you get older, you start realizing what those things are, and I can easily see how exactly what Richard was saying, how that can like perpetuate the bigger, grander myth. And it's kind of fun to talk about too. It's not the worst thing in the world to go back with a cool story and tell your friends, tell your family, have something to say over dinner or at a party. So it's all tied together, and it all just makes for this grand myth. And that's the beauty of a myth. Honestly, it's cool.
Yeah,
Well,
and
it's
sorry.
Wait a minute.
I mean, even going back into it, when a lot of these myths were created, we didn't have TV or movies, right?
True.
So it was almost a form of entertainment. Or you'd be around, you'd talk about things and create them.
Right, but also imagine that pressure too, right? Like, so you're not being maybe our age, but even at our, let's say our age, but then compound that by pretending you're 11 or 12, and it's your turn to go into the bathroom and say Bloody Mary 13 times. What's gonna be more satisfying? Coming out of that bathroom like nothing, or like I don't know for sure.
No, I'm running home. Fuck
you
that.
already know. No, but you already know. Like, even if you're not lying 100%, but maybe you're stretching it out a little bit, it's for the enjoyment of the night, kind of like.
Yeah.
You're not going to come out like if something real happened, you'd be running out the door. Like if you really had a big scratch on it, there would be nothing in you that wanted to like, oh, I don't know. So more than likely, it's going to be something very general, something no one can disprove by going into the rest. Like, you're not going to go, she's standing on the toilet right now. I swear to God. And then everyone's going to go, no, she's not. Oh,
that is a great point. I mean,
it's going to be something. It's going to be something that you're like, dude, I don't know. And you're going to build it up because that's the whole purpose of it. It's everything is built up to that moment. It's almost like those hypnotist shows. Like, have you seen, I don't know if hypnotism is real or not. We went over a little bit when I did my degree, but I think some of them to a certain point there is, but some of them are just hilarious. And obviously the person is playing along, and they are, because they'll play along without following the instructions that the hypnotist put in place. So it doesn't make sense, but it's just that pressure you feel like when a hypnotist puts you under, and everyone's done it before. And then you're like, well, yeah, I'm hypnotized too. But you don't remember like what you're supposed to do. And so you do it wrong. So it's very clear you're conscious because you're doing it wrong. Or the same thing with like healers. Not that there's not healers, but do you think no one's ever faked going up on stage just and felt? No one's ever faked that. I think some people have faked that just because it's a lot of pressure in the moment for everyone's expecting that to happen.
I always wonder that when you see them on like TV and like the preacher just puts their hand on their head and they're like shaking vigorously.
No, I'm sure there's very many genuine ones that happen. I'm sure there are.
Of course.
But I'm also sure that there probably are very many ones that are just like, I'm not feeling it, but I'm not gonna be up here like
I'm not gonna be that guy. Fuck that. It's me recorded. No.
My way, see, like what Richard was saying, someone goes in there and what's more likely? They're gonna come out boring, like nothing happened, or with a cool story, right? My way out is usually through jokey. Like I think I went in the restroom doing that and I was like, Bloody Mary, just real loud, everyone out the door's laughing, and then I run out and say, hey, she got me, or you know what I mean? So I always turned it jokey because I was scared and because that's just my way out of a nervous situation. Right. So yeah, I could see how it turns into a lie so quickly, and maybe even over time people would believe that lie because that happens all the time to children. They get older, like that's never happened. I believed that, but that never happened.
Well, memory of something.
But even yourself, that you implant yourself, and later on you think that's real. You believe it, and it's weird, man. So that was my way out, and I probably still wouldn't do it. To be honest, I don't know why. It's just like a weird thing.
Gene, one of the ones you brought up earlier. So I really like the modern version. The old version to me is kind of like, I kind of understand it. So I'm like, it's not as haunting to me. It's not as like frightening.
Which one? But walk up the stairs?
Right. Because to me, I kind of see, even if I'm wrong, my mind somewhat grasps what that's for. But conjuring something from like the beyond or from the dead or a spirit, that's a lot more.
That's Ouija board status. That's like you want something to happen.
So there's three main ones. You talked about two of them. Mary Tudor, which was Mary I of England, and she like tortured hundreds of Protestants to death for heresy, giving her the nickname Bloody Mary. So some people believe that that's who you're conjuring. Another person is the one you mentioned was the witch Mary Worth. Mm-hmm. She was executed in Salem at the witch trials. My favorite one, though, my absolute favorite one that makes me the most scared, that I think should just be, I should title her Queen Bloody Mary. She should be the one, in my opinion. It's Elizabeth Bathory, also known as Queen of the Blood, who supposedly was convicted for murdering hundreds of young girls so she could bathe in her
yeah.
blood. So this was in the late 1500s to early 1600s. Perfect for storytelling because
And
you
killing
can't,
people.
well, because you can't go back and like look at a news article and be like, no, there's nothing in here about that. So there's historians that wrote about it. Supposedly she was killing so many people and mostly slaves. This was in Hungary. So it was in Europe. Supposedly she was killing so many slaves and young women slaves that the town people were even like, that's a lot. And she lived in a castle, so she wasn't like a normal person. So the judge in that town went out to the castle, and it's by history's account, he walked in the middle of her torturing like a young underage girl slave and drawing her blood out to like a big pot or a big metal holding thing so she could have it later to bathe in.
Wow.
The sad part is that the slaves that were helping her actually got put to death. She ended up getting put on house arrest in her castle. That was like the worst thing you could do because she was kind of considered like an elite. So that was the only thing they could really do to her.
Wow.
But some people estimate like close to 500-600 children she killed.
Oh my gosh.
And just an absolute sociopath, like a maniac. And no one really proved. I read a little bit more into it. The whole bathing in blood seems to be a lot more of an exaggeration past the point of what's historically accurate. But I don't see why anyone would need to embellish historically what is pretty much thought of as true, which is well over 300-400 children were murdered by her. I mean, it's outrageous. And she lives in this big castle. She seems like one of those things from a movie that would be a spirit and then would come to you in the mirror every time. Like she just had such an evil in her to kill all those children. It was so strong. It just lived on past physical life.
Yeah. So talking about that, I went down. Ooh.
You got dark, bro.
So I decided to look up blood facials, blood baths, and looking young. There's actually a thing called vampire facials.
You know that.
Yeah.
Huh? I did
What does
not
it
know
have-
that. You guys do that?
Kim Kardashian gets them. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I didn't.
It was
know
in
that.
American
Yeah.
Horror Story.
Real. I don't watch that.
Just painting the blood on her face.
That's crazy. Sorry,
So the
I
whole
just-
time I was talking specifically about who I thought should be the main number one pound for pound champion, Bloody Mary, you were looking up facials.
No. I was
Blood.
listening to you and looking up facials and making some Amazon purchases.
Mm.
No,
That to
no.
me,
I
if
think
anyone's going to be evil and come back, I think she's
Oh.
the real.
for sure. I mean, that soul has definitely got some blood on her hands. Sorry,
Only
no pun
because the
intended.
queen,
Sorry.
the queen of England, Mary or whatever, kings and queens back then, that was like in the, I think earlier 1500s was her time. But that was like drinking water back then. Kings and queens killed people a lot. You didn't have, that wasn't an uncommon thing. But even for her time, when she was killing the one that was from Hungary, that wasn't a queen or a king, wasn't a queen. Even that for that time, like it was just unheard of. Even now, which the Smithsonian has her on record as having the highest kill number from any single woman serial killer.
Really?
So she's held that record since like 1560, 1570, something like that.
That's crazy.
So the fact that she's in the Smithsonian as holding the title, Omar, you just got back. So the girl that I was talking about in Hungary, she holds the title. That's fine. She holds the title from the Smithsonian as being the world's having the most kills of any woman serial killer in the history of the world that we know as serial killers.
Jeez.
She's the
And is
boss-
that one?
boss
Is that
bitch.
the one that was documented by the historians that you were saying?
Right. That one's in the Smithsonian. Yes. You can look her up in the Smithsonian. BBC had one on her. There's little details that are like the whole bathing in blood. Not everybody agrees on that. But there was I want to say 238, and I don't know why, but let's say close to 250 written statements accounting her murderous acts on young children from the townspeople.
Jeez.
So this was not like some the story of her is, I don't know, she is really Bloody Mary, but she really did that.
She
Yeah.
she had a temper on her, you know.
She
a little bit of a
she was a
She had a
mean.
little bit of a
And
temper.
it was even more than a temper. It was sadistic. Let me look up some of the stories I read about her,
Like,
because
she
this,
enjoyed it.
well, yeah, this was not, and almost in a, yeah.
Do you think like she genuinely just hated children, or she just loved murdering things and children were easy?
Well, it's worse.
Oh shit! It gets worse.
Jeez.
It's worse.
All right, let's hear it.
Let's see. God, it's so bad. Okay, this is from historychannel.com. Bathory was born. Oh, she was in Transylvania. Bathory's torture included jamming pins and needles under the fingernails of her servant girls and tying them down, smearing them with honey, and leaving them to be attacked by bees and ants.
Oh, gosh.
Although the Count participated in his wife's cruelties, he may have also restrained her impulses. When he died in the early 1600s, she became much worse. With the help of her former nurse, Ilona Jo, and local witch Dorita Sentes, Bathory began abducting peasant girls to torture and kill. She often bit chunks of flesh from her victims, and one unfortunate girl was even forced to cook and eat her own flesh.
Oh
Bathory reportedly believed that human blood would keep her looking young and healthy. Gene. Yeah, she was okay. So in January 1611, Bathory and her cohorts were put under trial. All were convicted, but only Bathory escaped execution. Instead, she was confined to a room of the castle that only had slits for air and food. She survived for 3 years, but was found dead in 1614. What a sweet story.
Jesus, like a blood. So she's like Dracula's wife.
Well, right. If we ever got down that road. So apparently, but it was almost worse than that, because her impulses got stronger once he died. So once he died, she just went out of control.
So Dracula kept her in check. Jesus.
Isn't
that weird that over so much time, and have y'all heard like Alex Jones several years ago saying that the Illuminati drink children's blood and all this stuff, and then it finally
Totally.
came out that maybe they're not murdering them, but there actually is a group of elite people right now out in the open that are taking like an IV drip or something like that.
Was that adrenochrome? Right?
that one's a little different.
That's
no idea,
adrenochrome's different. Oh,
Yeah.
but
Adrenochrome's not blood.
it's crazy that it carried on till, you know, it's been kind of forever that the power of the youth is in the blood somehow. It's kind of like a weird little thing, man.
yeah, we have to
Sounds-
dive into that later on.
It doesn't even sound smart. It just sounds oversimplified. Like, it sounds like a child thought, like, well, if you want to stay young, maybe you should get blood from children. And like that, it just,
Yeah.
drink it, put it on you. No.
What if it is that simple? I mean,
Well, I mean, if they're doing it, I would imagine people who are, I mean, especially nowadays, there's no reason not to have science put into it if you have the money to figure out if it works.
yeah.
So if it's working for you, then it's working for you. I don't condone getting children's blood.
Same. Let's not get this podcast confused with
Young blood.
anything crazy. Yeah, we are totally against the sacrifice of children.
Hey, if there was benefits, I would do it. I wouldn't. I mean, not
You know
no.
what
I mean,
Put that on the
by
record?
through the means of like
Like consensual means.
exactly. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that is the fountain of youth, bro.
I'm starting to understand this Bloody Mary lady a lot more lately.
Okay,
She's got
so
some good
I get
points.
her. I get
She
her.
got some good points.
So the one that the type of story behind this that Richard resonated with you was the one of like an evil person
Right.
that kind of can exist after her passing and kind of like go into like an, you know, the
And
fourth
then
dimension, almost still that evil
Right.
still exists.
That spirit, or
And
soul.
and
That you can conjure.
the kind of thing that kind of I think about that stuff a lot because I think, people's experiences with ghosts and stuff like that is almost, if there's a theory on that, I would be able to understand it. The stuff that scares me more is the stuff about, did y'all read the one about Hell Mary? That like Hell Mary?
Mm-mm.
You say that in the mirror, and the mirror turns red and you see death. It's kind of like this, I don't know. There's just something about not something from this world appearing, like
Right.
Satan or, death or a demon. It just seems like a higher tier of evil, like a higher tier of like bad, less realistic, but way worse if that's real. You understand? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, does it?
Proven or unproven? Oh, go on.
No, go ahead.
Oh, that's it. That's all I had.
So I was going to ask you, what's more scary to you? The conjuring of something that is you've never seen, like the hell thing, right? You've never seen it. Or is it more scary to try to conjure someone really existed, but you don't know if she's going to be conjured or not? Like, because to me,
the first one.
Okay, so I'm the opposite of you. Like the realism, like, so Ghost, Jason, horror movies, those horror movies never scared me, where it's a protagonist that's like not an identity, because I just don't find it believable. But demonic movies scare the shit out of me.
That's kind of what I'm talking about, because now it's kind of we're kind of splitting hairs, because
right.
I was just going to say a demonic movie is kind of in line with what I'm saying, because the demon isn't something we know and is existed,
right?
So I see what you're saying though, because it is actually
that's a real person, right?
A real person that can get possessed by something otherworldly,
or just come from whatever realm she's in. Like, you don't even have to be, you could be a Christian and think she's in hell, or you could be agnostic or even atheist and believe that there's other realms, and that energy sometimes is so compound like gravity that it just kind of, it stays, but in a different way. And so there might be something to conjuring it. It's just the fact that she was a real person that scares me more. It just seems one more step closer to something I can imagine happening than I can't imagine like my mirror just turning, like me seeing hell.
No, of course not. Yeah. But to what you were saying, someone that's evil, like a Hitler type of person, right, who just wants death and destruction, and that's just something wrong with their brain, rather right, than someone who's possessed by
right,
kind of like I said, like a certain demon, and then they start talking in Latin and they say, my name is whatever.
Yeah.
That is what I was talking about. That's deathly terrifying to me.
That is terrifying.
So who's the first person that tried a Ouija board? Is that just experiment and then bad stuff started happening? He started talking back, and you know what I mean? So no one knows how to conjure these things. There's probably a million ways to do that. If
a great
real
topic though for another podcast for sure.
Yeah.
Ouija board.
Ouija boards.
Jamie,
get on it.
Write it down.
I got it. It's on the list.
Write it down. Ouija board. That's a really good one, because I bet you there's a lot of history. Unless it's just like, no, it was invented in '67 for idiots.
No, it was in the '60s. There were a lot of drugs.
Doesn't like shit. A big game manufacturer owns the rights, right? Like it's like Hasbro or something like that.
Yeah. Hasbro,
oh my god,
made it
that'd
up.
be so funny.
It's serious. They sold it at Toys R Us forever.
Yeah,
that's true.
But I don't know how far back the origin goes. I mean, but let's just say
Thomas Hasbro invented it in his basement, and that's how he became wealthy. Gene, I'm looking at you.
I know, because
Gene's like he doesn't know what's real and what's.
I'm like, what?
What's a smart remark?
I know.
We don't know yet, Gene. We're gonna look into it.
Yeah,
we're looking into that one.
But okay, so I just wanted to say that it's just funny, man. Those kind of things are too different. But what's up, Gene? What about you?
As far as, oh my god, man. I mean, it's more of, I'm more afraid of something that hasn't been disproven. So yeah, I mean, it's normal to be afraid of like the Jason characters and all that, but it's easy to calm yourself down. Like, okay, that person's not real. But like Richard was saying, if it's a ghost or a demon or something like that that could possess someone, like that type of evil is like way more terrifying.
What's scary to me too is like she doesn't even have to be a demon. It could just be her coming back. I don't think there's anything about her being possessed when she's doing these horrible things to these young servants and peasants. So it could just be her. Like, I want to do something to you. Like this, I just get that little like I mean, she would stick things in people's fingernails and like bite their flesh off and like just horrible. And the one like psychological reason that I read was it was more of a sexual satisfaction, which
Really?
Yeah, I think it's impulse. I don't know if it's sexual. I am a doctor, so I mean,
Okay, perfect.
I see the impulse, or I could kind of see somebody having that, like, just want to hurt you in pain. I don't know where the sexual part comes from. To my knowledge, there was no direct like sexual thing that was being done. It was just deeply horrible, painful ways of torturing people. It was more sadistic. And so I don't even think she would need to be a demon to scare me, maybe even more than a demon. Maybe it's just her getting that, like, you conjured me and now I get to, like, maybe that's what the scratch is that little, like, I get, like, I can't be there for a long time to torture you, but I can at least scratch the shit out of you and then, like go back.
What I want to know is what she does on her downtime. Is she just sitting there waiting for someone to be like, and then scratches them and then goes back and she's just waiting?
And is it ever an itch that gets scratched? So is it like, does she ever come back like
satisfied? Yeah,
finally.
Yes. No,
like,
that's okay.
More time.
That's a good point, because that's not nearly what she was doing. She was murdering people by the dozens. So that's like a punishment to her that she could just go back and scratch someone.
Maybe
all
that's
you could
her
do is scratch
hell.
them.
You get one scratch.
Exactly.
Maybe that's her personal hell where
That's
she
her
thinks,
hell.
and every time she forgets that she can't, so she really thinks like, a new young girl.
She's
and then
ready.
in the mirror, like waiting,
she already has
banging on it.
pins
Just
waiting
say
to
it.
go.
Just say it.
She's grabbing her tools of like chopping off ears and chopping off fingers.
This is the one.
And
This
then
is the one. I can feel it.
She feels herself getting pulled back, and it just gives a scratch.
Yes.
And then she has to go through that anguish until she gets called again.
That is what the truth is. We found it right there.
That's
That
I think we
hell.
have.
Show's
I think we can
over.
close the case on that one. I think Bloody Mary's just been solved.
Case
She was a
closed.
Hungarian
closed.
crazy bitch that was married to Dracula. When Dracula died, even Dracula couldn't. Dracula was trying to.
This bitch is
Dracula
crazy.
was trying.
This is
Dracula
crazy,
was even
y'all.
trying to hold this girl off, and then at a certain point, he was like, "I gotta go." I don't think Dracula dies. He didn't die. He probably just left her. It's like, dude, you're crazier than me, and I'm a vampire.
The king of vampires.
We are in Transylvania. I'm the vamp. I'm Dracula. I can't have a wife that's more crazy than me. I gotta go. And then she left, and she's like,
I'm going to America.
I'll show you who the real monster is. And then just did unspeakable acts of torture. It's hard to laugh when I say it, but it's so obnoxious. It's hundreds and hundreds of servants. And then even she ran out of servants. So she just went to like the peasants. So the townspeople, the little girls and the townspeople.
I wonder how she got these people.
She was
Put on
obviously
ads?
she's some sort of elite. Well, no, she had a castle. She was up there in Transylvania
true,
in
man.
a castle. So she probably had them as servants on the ground.
Yeah.
You only
Yeah.
have to kill a couple before word gets around town. Like, don't work at that castle.
Yeah.
She's gonna
Probably die.
But she had a lot of people that were executed along with her. So I think people that she kept as servants or as like her workers, or she kept on salary,
She had a
ended
crew.
up being kidnappers. So they would probably go out, get the children, bring them back. Because it doesn't take that many. Like, as soon as you kind of have a reputation of like, oh, when you go there, if you're a young girl, you're going to die and be tortured. No one's going
Which
to
is just
willingly go to
crazy.
that castle.
Yeah.
Right. And it's
how it
also
lasted
crazy that
that
her
long.
punishment was basically home arrest. Like, that was her punishment.
That's jacked up, dude.
Yeah. We're just thinking this room.
I can't believe that. I mean, it makes sense. Like
And
you
then
said.
well, and the fact that they executed the servants that she had because they participated in it rather than, and not execute her who actually carried out these torturous acts. Because there was no proof that there was obviously proof enough that they were participants in getting these children, but there was no proof that they did one single act of torture to any of the children, which they all swear they didn't. And even the girl, when she was on trial, she was real defiant from what I read, because she knew the worst thing that could happen was she'd have to stay in her castle. So.
I feel like they were just like, I mean, that sucks, but you would think that someone like that would just want to die, like just kill me. Like I feel like they were more hardcore back then. Like, oh no, we're gonna torture you.
3 years. Yeah, she died in her 50s. She only lasted she was only like 3-something years, but maybe back in the 1500s, 1600s, 50 was like 130. So
yeah,
it was.
That's probably why. Yeah, they're like, yeah, we'll kill these other people.
But so even before she was in prison, then she was in her 50s. I think she was like 58, 57. So when she was like peak killing people, she was like late stages of life, which should be the most wisdom-filled, kind parts of your life. And she's just
crushing the killing
most hardcore torture.
Yeah. Dude, that's metal. I don't know what metal is, but that is metal.
Just like you said about people word spreading around, like don't go work for her. You know, she was posting on Craigslist like
for sure.
$1,000 a week. Come over here, you just got a sweep and $1,000 a week.
Come get this.
It's the town Craigslist, like that big wooden post, and she's so rich she just buys it all up, and you could just see the girls walking by like,
we know that trick.
You might have got 350 of us, but you won't get 351.